recording? We good? Yeah? Hey? Hi? What up? Good? Alright, let's go. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, guys? It's Justin, one half of the Second City Podcast, here to let you in on a little secret. The secret is that this podcast is sponsored by Anchor. And if you ever heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. So sit back and let me explain. It's free, guys. That's right, you've heard me. It is free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so we can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So do yourself a favor right now. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started now. Hola, welcome to the Second City Podcast. I am Justin, half of this fabulous duo, and guys, I was on vacation, hence having no new episode last week, but no fear, no worries, we are back with a new episode. You're probably wondering where Andrew is. That's a good question. I don't know either. So I am here just kind of pre-recording this intro for this episode. This episode is with Luke Wessman. Now, this interview is an interview that I had conducted about a year and a half or so ago with my very first podcast, my iPhone podcast, which wasn't long-lived, but it kind of started the wheels turning for me and Andrew and myself. To create the Second City Podcast. So even though it didn't last, we have this. But this interview was my very first conversational piece with someone that is well known in the tattoo game and throughout the world. He is someone that I look up to in regards to his quotes. That's kind of what drew me to him, was the self-made dues paid. But we discussed that. We discussed a variety of things. Like I said, it's very interesting listening back to how I conversate with Luke versus to probably how I would conversate with him now. You know, unfortunately, we just kind of we couldn't come up with a time to kind of get a more recent interview, but we will eventually, no worries, no fear, we will get a more up-to-date conversation with Luke. So hopefully that will be coming somewhat soon to this show. But without further ado, without me rambling on, here is Luke Wessman. Already on the phone right now. His first time ever on the show. The busiest man in the tattoo world. But not only in the tattoo world, but by gosh, everything else under the sun. We have Luke Wessman. Luke, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me, man. Hello from sunny Southern California.
Yeah, so I'm in Illinois. And it's definitely has its ups and downs when it comes to the weather. But it's definitely hot. It's been a hot summer in Illinois, so been enjoying it. Cali, how's the weather in there?
You know, we're doing the same thing. We're having like an extraordinarily warm summer with extra humidity. So, you know, I don't know. There could be something to this whole climate change thing. I don't know. Yeah, it seems to get hotter and hotter. Yeah, it's hasn't there been like some type of like wildfires going on somewhere? Yeah. You know, there's a lot of bad ones that were kind of firefighters are having a hard time containing them. I haven't been following a a lot of these fires this year, but there's still some pretty big ones going on, and it's kind of scary. It's been the perfect weather to keep feeding the fire. So they're having a hard time putting them out. There's a lot of stuff going on in some of the inland cities.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I would like fear almost living in the area like with the fires, because I mean they're almost uncontrollable, right? I mean, because there's so much land.
Yeah, certain wind, like super dry vegetation. It's like the perfect remedy for fires, And a lot of times forests have like a natural burning season, but yeah, it's just heightened and it's just out of control these last couple summers. It's really messing with people's homes and lives. But
yeah, it's crazy.
It's the worst.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, because I can just so my dad was born and raised in Texas, so we have family down there, and we would go visit there. And I can just remember as a kid, like the days we would go out and it'd be so hot. And I'm like, how do people even live in like in a hot climate area where it's just like I mean, we would literally, I can remember as a kid getting ice cream and walking out, and the ice cream would be like instantly melting. And I'm like, man, what? Like how do people even enjoy this? Like, this is just crazy. But I guess you get used to it.
What if their AC goes out? They're fucked.
Yeah. It's insane. It's like, how do like any animals even bear living in this type of climate? Like, it's just, I would definitely not. Well, my wife is like, how about we move down to Texas? I'm like, I'll have to like look into that and see where it's somewhat decent, where it's not always 100 degrees. But
you know how they do it is it's a little more affordable, right? Like, so you get super shitty heat, weather, whatever, and then you can still buy a home for $300,000 that's got 3-4 bedrooms.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's definitely beautiful spots in Texas, and the scenery and stuff like that. I definitely enjoy it when we go down there. But I know this guy that I used to work with, he had family in San Diego, and he said that San Diego's like beautiful, and like he's big into Mexican food, and he's like, it's like the best tacos in San Diego. He's like, you gotta go there just for the tacos. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, we're so close to the border, and then there's great chefs down there, so you get a mix of just like that real legit Mexican food mixed in with a little bit of like culinary expertise, and it's just a beautiful combination.
Yeah, so I'm Mexican, so he's like, you don't know, like, he's like, you might know good tacos, but go there and you'll have some really good tacos. I'm like, all right, but he's like, don't rent or stay in San Diego. He's like, stay in the outskirts and then go into San Diego because of heard it's a little expensive in the area.
Yeah. Any little city, they always jack up the price.
Yeah. So speaking of like Mexican, so like your tattooing, would it be like considered almost like, I know I've seen some pieces where you definitely have some influence of like the Mexican culture. Like, has that always been like kind of like your upbringing when it comes to your tattooing?
Yeah, I mean, just growing up, in San Diego County, there's just such a heavy like Latino Mexican influence in the culture, so I definitely, just being immersed in it growing up, the imagery, the airbrushing on the lowriders, like the murals in Chicano Park, like all that cultural art, just kind of definitely seeps in as an artist, as a young artist. So I learned, I sort of had a keen eye for like that style art, prison art as a young kid. And then I learned how to tattoo at a really traditional Americana shop. So I've always kind of had the influence of both. And then just working all over the world, you're kind of, you're always, as an artist, you're always kind of influenced. So I always think my art's just kind of always changing and morphing a little bit as I, work in different countries and around a lot of different people. But it's always rooted in kind of that, a little bit of Chicano, American traditional mix. That's kind of my roots.
Yeah, because I growing up, like my dad would always draw, so I'd always have like he would always draw stuff, and I kind of like inherited his artistic abilities. So I definitely understand like in the sense of kind of learning from others and seeing others and like evolving, like having a core of like who you are as an artist, but then evolving, your medium and kind of taking pieces from other people and expanding your horizon on art. But I can't I couldn't imagine what you guys do when it comes to ink on skin. That's it's mind blowing what the artists do. It's just like, holy cow. Like that's probably like a lot of not practice, but like a lot of working, a lot of hours spent to get to where you are, right?
Yeah. One thing you get over the years is a little more comfortability. I remember the first 2 years of tattooing people, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. You're always encountering different scenarios, whether it be a personality or a person can't sit or their skin's really bad. There's so many variables rather than just a piece of art, applying the art, and coloring it in. There's all these variables in between, all those things. So it really takes a while to get comfortable. For me, it was a couple of years. Obviously, you hide your insecurities as an artist because you don't want your clients to feel bad. But I remember those first 2 years being really holy shit. This person's bleeding, this person's critiquing what I'm doing on them. They're going to walk around with it forever.
Yeah.
It's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight. And so you push through that, you get experience. Now I have, almost 20 years doing it. So I'm very comfortable with the people, with the application, with the techniques. But, there's still curveballs. People, they'll want a great design, and then they'll want it in a real funky spot where their skin's really tricky or bad, and you're just doing your best to make the colors as vibrant as you can, the design as crisp as you can, but you're working with these variables and these obstacles to mess with how it comes out. So you never know what you're going to get, You really never know what you're going to get, and that's kind of what makes it so exciting and challenging. And I would say it's such an extreme art form, as an artist and as the collector on the person receiving it side. It's so extreme and unique.
Oh yeah, because definitely I do believe some people will see an image, they'll print out the image, and they'll believe that they're going to get what they see when it comes to the vibrance of colors and such. And I know some artists can definitely pull that off and get it on exact. But have you ever encountered any client that was extremely upset because it didn't turn out the way they thought it was going to turn out?
Not really. I think people generally, if they felt that, they maybe have hit it, because they're wearing it. So there's a big kind of mental school of thought where it's oh shit, okay, it's on me, so I'm going to have to own this and appreciate it. So that's why a lot of people that are not good are in business, because people just own the work and they don't, they try not to live with regret. So I don't ever hear people expressing, I've never, over the years, just never really heard much, and I'm sure there's been,
Yeah.
But since I'm a big, intimidating guy, maybe they've been kind of nervous to tell me or whatever. But more so on the level of maybe something feels a little funky, which there's a lot of variables there in the healing that can also determine how clean it feels. How they take care of it, what they're exposed to.
Yeah.
If they're swimming or showering or bumping it or scratching it. There's all those little things. So. From time to time, you get somebody that goes, I would love to touch up, and I try to be really open to that because, you always want your work looking its best.
Oh, yeah, because I remember when I got my first tattoo, the artists were like, all right, you need to make sure you don't do this, and that. I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, all right, so here I am. So I got mine when I was 16, and, when you go in, your parents can sign to get you to let you get your tattoo. So I literally remember walking around school, trying to shield my tattoo so nobody would touch it and smack and say, oh, is that real? Is that real? So I'm staying away. I'm I never really realized the delicacy of the tattoo and protecting it and making sure that it heals fine and the lotions and all that jazz. I had no idea, but. It's weird. Once you get one, I know people say it all the time, but once you get one, it's an addiction of getting more and more and more.
Yeah.
But so when it comes to your arts, was there anybody that inspired you in your childhood that made you pick up whatever medium to start drawing? Is it like in your family? Is it in your blood?
My parents were really creative people, and they always kind of pushed a lot of creativity. So as a young kid, I mean, they were always really pushing just basic art and creativity and crafts. And I mean, they were kind of like these hippie. My dad was a musician. My mom was just like a, real creative hippie homemaker lady. And they just kind of instilled in me a lot of just general creativity, creating, building. And so that mindset carried through just as a creative person, and it just happened to be tattooing that I found my way. I didn't go out looking for it. It kind of found me, and it's just a great place to be an artist. I mean, there's a lot of artists that have a hard time making a living, so as a tattooer, you can definitely make a sustainable living and be an artist. So it's a beautiful profession it found me when I was a kid. I got my first one at 16 also, and just never stopped getting them, and then started giving them.
Yeah, no, yeah, I often wonder how it would feel to give somebody a tattoo, but I'm like, that's kind of scary, needles go into someone's skin and not knowing, and the angle of the gun and stuff like that. But so I'll leave all that to the pros. But the one thing that definitely struck me when it came to actually knowing who you were was I saw a post on Instagram from Toby Morse. Yeah, from H2O, yeah. And he's got a podcast that's going to be coming out next month, I think, right?
I know, I've been seeing about it. He's been doing a lot of shows and tours, so I haven't really got to talk to him too much lately. But yeah, I saw that he was posting about doing it, so
yeah, that'd be
he
cool.
should. He's got, he's a big talkative guy, and he's got a lot of different friends.
Yeah, cool. But so I saw one of his posts. It had the self-made dues paid, and I was like, oh, what is this? So then I started kind of doing the research, because I was like, self-made dues paid. I'm like, that has a good philosophy behind it. And then I stumbled upon you, and then so I'm like, so where did that come from? Is that something that you came up with, or is it something that you kind of heard throughout your years, or how did the self-made dues paid? How did that come about?
So it came about for me about, probably 15 plus years ago. I was trying to figure out what to tattoo on my knuckles, and that was a real big deal. What 8-letter word or what 2 4-letter words can you put there that no one else has? And so I was really digging around with different ideas about words that were 4 letters each. And I don't remember. There wasn't one moment that sparked I didn't see something or hear something. I think it was just the idea of playing with words and trying to have something that meant something to me. And right around that time, I started to embrace, because up until, I don't know, maybe my 20s, I was kind of really embarrassed of being real poor as a kid, and having this kind of hardships as a young guy. And I don't know, late teens, early 20s, I just kind of started to turn it into motivation and kind of owned it instead of was hiding from it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That it was just kind of all floating around in my life. And at the time, I had actually owned a tattoo shop. I started in my 20s. I worked for an old guy that was a real famous tattooer, and through the course of events, I ended up owning a tattoo shop at 22 or 23.
Oh, wow.
And, not that I was financially successful, but I was stable, and I had, kind of came from zero, and, literally zero, without, even a pat on the back. And it just fit, the idea of being a self-made person, and it was pre-internet, it was pre all these things, and so it was just, it was really a connection to the idea that I wasn't embarrassed anymore. I'm self-made. I really did it my way, and over the years, I just built up on that, and, there's so many, everyone's self-made, really, to some degree, and I think the people that have had the biggest transitions or hardships, maybe they're more proud of it because they have this great example of from little to more.
Yeah.
So, but I just once I I got it on my knuckles and embraced it, and embraced my history, and was kind of owning my path. I just kind of self-made, and then dues paid was kind of something I always started to say with it, and and then I got it on my lower knuckles, and it was just 10 years in the at the time, I think I got dues paid like 10 years into the business, and I was just like, you're always paying them, whatever you do, but I definitely felt like I cut my chops. I was working 365 days a year, and every single day, and I was chatting all day and painting all night, and I felt like I was really paying dues, and it just kind of organically came out that way. So I just really started running with the self-made dues paid, and now it's been a long time since.
Yeah, it's like I said, when I saw that, I mean, growing up, we definitely didn't have like everything in the world. We definitely struggled and such, and definitely now, being married and I have a family, definitely my kids don't, live without, the lack of what I had growing up. So it's like, to me, that philosophy, the self-made dues paid, is like almost basically like I live like the self-made dues paid. So it's like, so like you said, like everybody has their own way of being, self-made, and people definitely pay their dues regardless of what they do. They definitely pay it, in one way or another. So that's definitely, to me, the self-made dues pay, that's something that I definitely will live by until the day I die, and it'll be something I will, let my kids know as they get older, just to know that through anything you can be anything as long as you put your mind to it,
Yeah, and that's the bottom line. We really get to make our path, you know what I mean? And you never hear me complaining about my life, but I have used it as just, my story, and
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, like, as an art, because you are definitely, you do quite a bit other than tattooing. I mean, you go to you do speeches right out of the country, and you're doing other things with different organizations. So you want to explain some of that?
I mean, at some point in my life, I just figured to say yes to everything, and say yes to opportunity, to not be too cool to do something or go somewhere. And so,
like this podcast,
speaking, I started. What's that?
Is it like this podcast?
Yeah. I mean, I guess at some point you got to know, what the right thing to say no to are too. But I just really like living by say yes. Especially if it's out of my comfort zone. If it's something I wouldn't normally do, like those are the things I want to do the most. The things that make me nervous or scare me, because that's where a lot of times the growth lies. Or it's so easy to be comfortable in your little pocket in your lane. So I got asked to speak at some high schools, and I did that and surprised myself because I'm historically a kind of introvert, but did that and had a great response there. And then I got asked to do some big conventions. So I was in Austria recently, just doing a big one, and crazy great response, which I wouldn't have imagined just because I haven't done anything on that scale before. And it was more just telling my story, a little bit of my self-made story, and then some of my tips for brand work, because I have through the years worked with some pretty big brands. Kind of like I just did I painted a bike for Harley Davidson, and they're touring that one around the country, and that's a big one. And I've definitely done some good stuff with I've done stuff with Chevy, I've done stuff with Spotify, I've done stuff with Tumblr. Like, I've gotten these really amazing opportunities, I think, just from kind of being myself. And I've never had a manager or anybody like getting me jobs, but I've also never said no.
Yeah.
I said yes.
Did you do anything with Hurley with Tim?
Yeah. Tim was one of their kind of on retainer artists, so he did a lot with Hurley himself, and then kind of through that, him and I painted a big mural for Hurley, and then I did some designs for some events for Hurley. Like, they were doing some old printing press stuff, and so I did a few designs for shirts and Yeah, I've got a good relationship with Hurley. I haven't done tons of stuff with them, but I've definitely done some cool things with them. And it's been a great ride. I owe some of it to living in New York, because I feel like New York is such a busy city that there's just so many things happening.
Yeah.
And right place, right time with some of that. But I've just been real fortunate. Good friends, good people, and I've never really changed my style or my message. I've kind of just been me, and I've been lucky enough that a lot of people found me, and I try to make sure I'm working with people that are legit, or companies that at least have some great qualities to them. And that's where I learned to say no to some things. And
yeah, so because I noticed some artists kind of have their own tattoo guns or own ink or the healing cream or anything. Is that something that you're eventually would be interested in?
Yeah, so up until it's a whole other story, but I had spine surgery maybe almost 3 years ago now. And up until that point, I was just satisfied with just tattooing my ass off and painting. And I never really approached tattooing too business-like, even though, I respect the fact of, projects and making money. I just never wanted to chase money, and I was happy tattooing every day and as hard as I could, as long as I could. But when I hurt my back, it shocked my world. I was laid up, I couldn't walk, and had to go through some, I went to Germany and had this big spine disc replacement surgery and all this crazy stuff. And so when I came off that, it was a rude awakening, and it just kind of shocked me, holy shit, if you can't work, you're fucked, so
basically.
then I opened my mind to okay, what are the things that I can, make some supplementary income off of? So I've been trying to figure out maybe doing a machine. I've got some really good friends like Tim and another friend at Bishop Rotary, which is a big rotary company here that they're making really nice machines. And I'm just trying to figure out maybe doing a really nice signature piece with one of them, or just myself with their guidance. And then I am working on a tattoo aftercare ointment cream, which I've been working on for 10 months.
Oh,
trying to formulate the right stuff. What's that?
That's a long process.
Yeah, just I'm trying to do four different products. They all kind of go along with the care of a tattoo pre and post tattoo.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just been a really grueling process trying to get the right stuff and get something I can put my name behind. I actually have some samples that just came in right now of the lotion, and kind of testing it out on my skin right now.
Oh, nice. So what do you think about it right now?
So it's okay. It's a little thick, so I may have to go back to the lab. It's a little thicker than I want. I want it to rub in a little smoother.
Yeah.
So the aftercare, and I've got other random projects, but yeah, I'm always tattooing is my main thing still. I'm just not doing it not as crazy as I used to. I used to do 5 to 7 a day, and now I do 2 to 3 average.
So
out of a private studio now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. What is it called again?
The Summertown Inn.
Is that open to the public, or they just kind of email you and you guys set up a time or something?
Yeah, I do a little screening process through the email, and then I can set up, and I don't disclose the location. A little bit of just the area where it's at, but I like to keep it pretty mysterious. It's kind of part of its lure.
Oh, that's cool.
So I have it hidden, and it's a cool adventure when you come get tattooed by me. It's definitely not your average tattoo shop. And it just kind of came to be. I was going to open a shop with my friend Tim Hendricks a few years ago, and we ended up going different ways. He had a good opportunity to reopen an old shop about an hour from here, or 40 minutes from where we're living, and I decided to kind of do this little private thing for a little bit and just see how it goes and have a home base. And I travel so much that it was nice. And 3 years later, I got this great space that's kind of like a speakeasy. So When people come to it, it's like behind the trap door and all this stuff, and it's not gimmicky. It's just a cool little workspace that I love being at, and people really enjoy it. I'm still like 50 minutes, 40 minutes from LA, so I still get a lot of my fancy LA clientele that'll drive down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Summertown Inn, which is the name of the hippie farm that I was born on.
Really?
In Tennessee. It's called Summertown.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's a small, unincorporated city, and I just love the name. And, I only was born there. I didn't grow up there at all. My parents hitchhiked to California when I was old enough to travel. So I don't have a lot of connection other than being actually born there. But I love the name, and so that's just what I named my little spot, the Summertown Inn.
No, it's a pretty cool name. I mean, it's definitely not your generic, like, I don't know, Black Ace or whatever, Black Cat, or you know how there's like basic generic names. Yours definitely has a cool ring to it. And I was like, when you brought up how it's like kind of like its own like mystique, whatever. You are part of like a brotherhood, right? You're a Mason.
Yeah. I've been a Mason for almost 10 years. Master Mason, and also an Odd Fellow, which is kind of like maybe more of a forgotten fraternity, similar to the Masons, where they base a lot of their focus on charity.
Nice. That's
yeah.
good. You're a busy man. You definitely.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm trying to stay busy.
Well, you know what? You gotta stay busy to keep moving in this world. So definitely gotta keep.
Friction leads the fire. I always say.
What is that?
That friction leads the fire. You just keep going.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
That's the first I heard of that. So like the one thing that I want to bring up is your '66 Impala is absolutely gorgeous.
Thanks.
It's you started from scratch with that, right?
Pretty much. Like I had bought it from a friend, kind of reluctantly, and it was primer spots and just really rough. And drove it around a little bit like that, and then had a friend kind of look at the bodywork, and it was just like packed with Bondo and like all these. Like once we cleared the Bondo and the paint, there was just tons of holes from pulling out dents, and it was just like the most damaged car you've ever seen. So we started pretty much from scratch at that point. Once we started seeing how bad it was, and took panels off, and I bought new panels, and we tried to get a lot of the rust off, and just it's ground up, but it's like hood ground up. It's not like I have a lot of money that paid everyone to like power coat the frame and all that shit. We did it in a lot of backyards. So I took the car to TJ to get the interior done, which I still have the interior from TJ in there. It's probably been 8 years. It's all white, still clean. I kept it real clean. And then I had my friend paint the car in the backyard, and it's just real. It's got a lot of love and soul in it. There was pit bulls that ate the gas lines underneath the car in his backyard while he was cleaning the.
Oh my gosh!
Doing the body, so it's a real special hood car,
Yeah.
And then just giving it a lot of love, and it's pretty clean. I mean, obviously it looks a little cleaner on pictures. I see all the little things that are the little dents and the little bubbles on the paint and stuff like that, but all in all, it's a beautiful car. I loved it. I've had it for 10 years, and I'm just trying to baby that thing, and hopefully can do a little more stuff to enhance that sucker, because it's been with me a long time.
Hey, yeah, as long as you take care of it, I'm sure she'll always be there for you. Yeah,
I just got to keep turning it over and not letting her sit too much, and letting the oil and the gas settle.
Yeah, my dad had always told me growing up that his car that he always wanted was a '66 Impala. And I was
no way.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, because I always thought like the '64 Impala was just something that I always grew up liking and loving. But he was like, no, the '66 is definitely the Impala that you would want to buy. And I was like, well, all right. And I started kind of looking into it. I was like, yeah, it's definitely nice. But that's just more his style. To me, the '64 has always been kind of like that classic, that lowrider feel to it. But other than that, like, so do you want to? Anything else you want to say, like, to the audience, the people that are listening? Like maybe some words of encouragement. Before we wrap it all up.
Shit. I mean, I got so much to say, but I would say, you know what? I also would say to anybody listening, if they're on Instagram, that there's also one called Lost Art of the Gentleman that I run. That kind of I just try to put tons of little kind of positive quotes and things about what I think it means to be a gentleman, and there's a lot of good in that page where it's anything from dating to relationships to parenting. There's just tons and tons of gems on that Instagram page, Lost Art of the Gentleman. Have you seen that with yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You post. I'm not sure where you find the pictures or even come up with the verbiage, but it's definitely inspiring. Especially for those that are young, that are starting out in relationships and kind of need the platform of kind of like how to be a good role model. I definitely would suggest the Lost Art of a Gentleman, because it's definitely and especially nowadays. I mean, it's rough. The people's perspectives on things. The way a male treats the female or vice versa. It's definitely not what it used to be. So what you're doing with that is definitely very inspiring, and people need to get on Instagram and definitely follow the Lost Art of the Gentleman for sure.
Yeah. It's it's some of the messages are to myself, and then some are just situations I see or hear or live through. So there's a lot of good on there, and I try to keep pushing out good stuff there. And so that's something good to check out. And, as far as motivation and keeping the hard work, self-made thing up, something I always tell myself is I can't win today's games off of yesterday's home runs.
There you go.
And that's a way to not revel in some of the great things I've done, but try to do some more, whether that be just accomplishments or whatever. But we're just keeping it pushing over here in California. But
so, is there anywhere else that anybody can follow you on, either Twitter or Instagram?
Yeah, I still use Twitter. It's nice because you can kind of put out thoughts without context.
Yeah.
I tend to be a little more political on Twitter, and I still have a Facebook, and I go pretty hard on there too. I put some of my personal views out there, but also some fun shit. And so yeah, Twitter's Luke. Everything's Luke Wessman, pretty much.
Okay.
So Luke Wessman, and then I have the Summer 10N has its own Instagram page, and it's just tattoos. And then Lost Art of the Gentleman. Yeah, keep an eye out for the skincare, because it'll definitely be some of the best stuff on the market once I finally get it to the market. And we'll see what's next. I'm still gonna cook up some other cool stuff. I'm working on a rose book part 2, which is any artists or people that love reference. I mean, roses are kind of part of the most classic, one of the most classic tattoo designs, or they go in everything as far as tattooing and art. So I'm doing another book of roses that'll be great for reference for tattoo lovers. And people can use them as coloring books too. Shit.
Yeah. So is that you have a website for your merch?
Yeah. There's I haven't been making a lot of stuff lately. I just hate selling shit to people. I mean, I like people that like my stuff and want a piece of me, but at the same time, I don't know. I hate pushing stuff on people. So I throw up new shirts on there often, but always different collections, different things. Sometimes just tattoo shirts, sometimes just some cool images that I want to wear. I make some more of them. So yeah, LukeWestman.com has a little merch section that there's self-made hats, and then there's some different shirts, and they're always kind of different. I usually don't make the same ones twice unless they're hot sellers, and then I'll make another run. But try to keep it fresh.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
So that is it. Like, once again, definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your busy, hectic life to sit down and just kind of shoot the shit. kind of see who you are as a person and your philosophies. So definitely very much appreciate it, Luke.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time with me, man.
Yeah, no problem. So all right, so that is it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Luke Wessman, and on that note, have a good day, guys. All right. Okay. I just stopped it and everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, man. Hey, thanks a lot. I definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Second City podcast. If you're listening to this on Apple, please leave us a nice review. Rate us 5 stars. It would be greatly appreciated. Regardless of what app you're listening to this fine podcast on, leave us a rating. Leave us a review. All right. Let everybody know that this podcast is the shit. Thank you very much. We appreciate you listening, and we will talk to you guys very, very soon. Have you ever felt like a sloth going about your day extremely slow, not getting much accomplished? Well, have no fear, because I, Justin, am here to give you a swift kick in your ass. I have partnered with Rep Sports, the creators of the Raz Energy drink, and we have partnered to come up with an exclusive offer to all my listeners. If you visit repsports.com and you make a purchase, if you put in a discount code KFP, you will receive 15% off of your purchase. Again, visit repsports.com. Once you make your final purchase, put in this promo code KFP and you will get an additional 15% off your total. And that, my friend, is how I'm going to get your ass a moving.